Hey everyone! So this week we're going to be talking about motivation. And this video is going to focus on what exactly motivation is and the theories behind how we are motivated, what motivates us. So, what is motivation? Motivation is the desire to act in order to fulfill a goal. So it is what gets us to act in order to get what we want. And it is the process of how activities are started, directed, and sustained. It's not just the first act of just starting it, but it's also how you do the behavior and do you maintain the behavior? Is the behavior worth keeping up with? Are you motivated enough to keep doing it? And motivation can be physical, such as maybe you're being chased by a group of goats. That's pretty motivating to make you to maybe run away. But it also can be psychological. So maybe it's social validation that what you said is funny. And so your friend gives you a high five and you're both laughing. So, what motivates us? Why do you do the things that you do? What motivates you more than other things? Why do you do one thing more than you do another thing? Do you do it because it's rewarding? There's something you get out of doing it? Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you do it to avoid something bad happening. Or maybe you do it because you need to do it to survive. Or maybe you simply just do it because you like to do it. So it's complicated, and many people have theorized about this. And we're going to talk about three main theories. The first one is called incentive theory. Incentive theory says that our behavior is motivated by past experiences being reinforced or punished. So this says that reinforcement motivates us towards that behavior. This is very learning based. It's all about reinforcement and punishment. And then punishment motivates us to avoid that behavior. What we have learned before is a motivator of our future activity. So this stresses the role of the environment. So this theory says that all motivations are learned from experience. Everything that motivates us is because something good or bad has happened from a similar circumstance. Then there's also drive reduction theory. So what this theory means by drive is need. So you can just equate those two together. So drives equals needs. And what this is saying is all behavior is to make decreases of different drives. So every behavior that you do is because you want to decrease a certain drive inside yourself. So what decreasing a drive is satisfying a need. So if you haven't eaten for a long while, the drive to eat increases and increases. And that means you're hungry. But the drive is hunger. And so you do the behavior of eating to satisfy that drive, or to decrease the drive and satisfy that need. And what this theory is really about is saying that behavior is motivated to preserve homeostasis. So you don't want to be hungry and you don't want to be too full. You want to be just right. You want to be content. So where this theory starts is when you feel some sort of lack of homeostasis. Something is not quite right. And this gives you some sort of need. You need to fix what's not quite right, and that'll give you a drive. So what do you do to fix that need? And that motivates you to act. Once you know what you need to do, you do it, and then that brings you back to homeostasis. What your normal is. So examples of drives in drive reduction theory is hunger, thirst, sex, shelter, and warmth. So this theory really is about the biology of humans. So it's kind of the opposite of incentive theory. Incentive theory is a lot about nurture, and this one's a lot about nature. So they both kind of have some issues where incentive theory doesn't completely explain where our motivations come from for completely new things we have never experienced before. But drive reduction theory doesn't explain things that are motivated that may not be some sort of drive or need. We don't need to do it, but we still want to. So this is an example of a better example of homeostasis. So we have our control center up here. And this is our homeostasis right here. So this is a variable in homeostasis. Let's use the example of hunger. So when it's flat like this, you aren't hungry and you aren't full. You feel comfortable. But when there's this imbalance, you have too much hunger, so you are hungry. And that is a stimulus that is detected by your senses, and then your brain is like, I need to fix that. It motivates you to go fix that and to make actions to do so, and then those actions will bring you back to homeostasis. The third theory is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So he says that there is this hierarchy of needs, and that the needs lower in the hierarchy have to be met before you can move up in the hierarchy. So it's taking it a step at a time. So you have a certain set of motivations, and then once those are met, then you go up to another set of motivations. And then once those are met, you can move forward again. And most of these needs are called deficiency needs. So these are the bottom four, where the deficiency needs are something that you're lacking something and you're striving to gain it. And then there's growth needs, which is just the top one, where it's just about personal growth. And there's the 5 levels. The first bottom level is survival and physiological needs. So it's all the way at the bottom. This is where you start. This is your first level in the hierarchy of motivation. If you don't have these things, then this is what you're most motivated to get. And then there's safety, and then there's belongingness, and then there's achievement and esteem, and then there's self-actualization. We're going to talk about each one of these individually in just a second. So, survival and physiological needs are the biological needs that humans need for survival. So this includes a lot of the stuff that was in the drive reduction theory. This includes the food, water, shelter, warmth, sex, and sleep that we all need. It's all of the stuff that our body is telling us that we need. And if we don't attend to those needs, then we might not survive. And yes, I know you might think, why is sex in there? Well, at the evolutionary perspective, that is how the human race survives, is through reproduction. So you need to have sex in order to reproduce. And then once you have fulfilled those needs, then you focus on safety. You focus on feeling in control of your life, and if there's order in it, having some sort of structure in your life. And some examples of this are financial security, health and well-being, you know, being able to go to the doctor, um, knowing that you are pretty healthy, knowing where your next paycheck is coming from, and then law and order, making sure that it's not complete anarchy outside. There's not going to be riots in the street and people knocking down your door. And then there's also a big one is freedom from fear. So you're not fearing for your life constantly. You have a safe space. You have a place where you are pretty certain you're not going to be attacked or there's not a lot of stress. Then, once you have both of those, then you can move towards belongingness. And belongingness really focuses on the needs for interpersonal relationships. So this could be friendships, this could be romantic relationships, it's all of it. And it really is important here to give and receive affection, have intimacy, really find your love, and build trust. Then the fourth level, once you have built a belongingness, once you have that social support in your life, once you have some good friends and maybe another, like a significant other, then you can focus on achievement and self-esteem. So this one, it says that once you get to this stage, the fourth stage, this is where you focus on building up your self-esteem and really trying to gain the respect of others. So you're really trying to achieve here. You're really trying to maybe get ahead at work or do the very, very best you can in school. And you're trying to gain that independence. So maybe if a teenager was here, they would really try to shy away from their dependency on their parents. And they're really trying to also gain status and prestige. That's how you get respect from people, right? The higher your status is, the more esteem you have. So that's what they focus on in this stage. And then once you gain that achievement, that esteem, then you can really get into self-actualization. This is the goal. This is really where you want to be. And this is where you focus on becoming everything that you can be, you can possibly be, and accomplishing the most that you can possibly accomplish. So this stage is all about self-fulfillment and personal growth. And this can take many forms. It can be economic, so maybe you're focused on being as rich as possible or being as successful as possible in your job. Or it can be creative, or it can be athletic, or it can be academic. And it's important to know that these 5 levels, you don't necessarily have to have all of the needs met. They just need to be satisfied relatively to get to the next stage. And so these bottom 2 are these basic needs. We all need food, water, warmth, rest, security, and safety. We all need those things. So these are the basic needs. And then 3 and 4 are our psychological needs. These help us mentally. This makes life worth living. So that's where the social relationships come from and the feeling of accomplishment and respect. And then if you're lucky, you get to that self-fulfillment. You get that self-actualization, the top of the tower, once everything else is satisfied. And it's important to note also that it could fluctuate. You could be here at one point and then a life event happens and you have to go all the way back down here. Or maybe you skip down here. Maybe you are here for a little bit. And then, oh no, you had a problem with your friends. So now you are back at this stage. And then, but you can always build back up. And I just think this is really funny because someone added Wi-Fi to the very bottom of the pyramid, and I think that is just extremely relevant to 2020, especially during the COVID pandemic. Um, it is almost as necessary as food, water, shelter, and warmth. So they put it at the very bottom. If you don't have Wi-Fi or internet, then you're pretty motivated to get it and aren't focusing on much else. So, we talked about emotion last week, and in our textbook, emotion and motivation are in the same chapter. And some people get these kind of confused, and that's perfectly normal because these interact really closely together. They are highly, highly related to each other. They influence each other a lot, but they are very different from each other. Motivations are the wants and needs that drive behavior. An emotion is the subjective state we are in. So the emotions can influence our motivation. So whatever state we're in could influence whatever our want or need is that causes our certain behavior. So there's an example of people who were shown bicycle accidents, and one group was shown it with a laugh track on, and then the other one was shown it with like people going oh, and the people who saw it with the laugh track thought it was really funny, and then the people who saw it with the thought it was terrible, thought they felt so sorry for those people. So that emotion really influenced how they felt and their motivations to help those people. The laugh track people thought it was just funny and didn't feel like they needed to help. But then the people that didn't get the laugh track felt bad for them and wanted to help.